Thank you so much, B. It's an honor to be here.
Oh, I'm so obsessed with you. I'm so excited that you're here.
Likewise.
You were just like one of these people who arrived in my life during quarantine. I think one of the rare people who is like really getting a lot of traction, honestly. Like you've gotten some traction this year.
Oh my gosh. Thank you for saying that. I don't even, maybe. I know. I don't even.
You're like, I don't pay attention to my analytics. Who cares?
So where do you say that? I do not.
Good.
Never.
No.
Never. Never. Go ahead.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I've had to really work on divesting. Right? Like from like what the numbers say and what do they mean. It was the same thing I did with my body and weight and like giving up on numbers and just being like, I'm gonna live the healthiest life I can that is healthy in my value system, what that means, right? And figure that out. And then whatever the number is what it is. And that's kind of what I do on social media. I just present what I know God is calling me to present, and I serve who I'm meant to serve. And when that gets bigger, it's in the goddess's hands.
Oh, period. I love it. Now you have such a beautiful way of simplifying long-winded and complex topics.
Wow, thanks.
You're welcome. Seriously, you do. So anyway.
Okay, so Colin, let's start with the most important thing. What is your astrological makeup?
Oh, okay. So I guess that would be SMR. So that would be and Shakira Tauburn at the Astrology coined that SMR. I really love that. So it would be Leo rising, Gemini sun, Capricorn moon.
So good. And an actual twin.
And an actual Gemini twin. Yes, my twin sister's coming over later when we're done recording. I can't wait to see her.
And you were born and raised in Long Island.
You better believe it. Was I wearing this sweater when we spoke last time? I might have been.
I don't think you were. I would have remembered.
Yeah, you're like, I'm a Virgo rising. No, you weren't. Relax. Calm down. You bitches remember everything. I love it.
It's so good. I started taking a memory vitamin this year too. So like I'm just waiting to be that kind of bitch who just I remember. Here's what I stopped dating. I stopped going on first dates because I remember too much. So I remember shit from people who I do not care about and never want to know again because I paid close attention to them on a date.
Wait, that is irrefutably the most annoyingly Virgo thing I've ever fucking heard. Like, I took a memory vitamin and then I stopped dating because I remember too much. I love it. Wait, what is this memory vitamin for the listeners? And like, this is not a plug or a sponsored post. What is it?
I mean, it's literally, it is kind of, I mean, it's not a plug. It is, they have to send me a private message. So email me, backatdanceparty@gmail.com. I will talk about your best life through vitamins and supplements because I am on a journey.
You are so fucking Virgo rising. It's out of control now. You're talking about the vitamins and and get a probiotic. Every Virgo is telling me about gut health. I'm like, we just met. Do you want to really hear about my stool? Like, we just met. Come on.
Ask about your stool. I'll say that.
Right. Yeah, not yet. Not yet.
I'm also very excited about amplifying my skincare game. I have this year, and I was like, I was literally, as I was getting ready for our call, I was like thinking, I was like, I'm gonna get visibly younger next year because I'm gonna up level my skincare game again.
See, let me tell you right now, do not sleep on the skincare regimen. Okay. I know. I actually used to work at Sephora as a skincare specialist, and I like received all this training in cosmetics and aesthetics. Or estheticians, I should say. And I'll never forget it. This representative from Fresh, the Fresh beauty brand, she said in a very typical Long Island accent, which is always more funny. And she was like, listen, the skin is the most important organ you have. So what you got to do is get a device that brightens, lightens, and tightens. I call it my BLT. I know. And ever since then, I was like, if it doesn't brighten, lighten, and tighten, I don't want it.
Oh, Colin, since you grew up in Long Island, have you ever run into the Long Island Medium at a bagel store?
No, but here's the crazy story. If I did, I think there would be like a rip in the time-space conversion. It would be too much. She's a Gemini too. She's like, so Gemini, she can't just talk to the living. She has to talk to the dead too. It's like, I got to talk to everybody. No, so I did not meet her, Teresa, but I did meet her son at the 2012 Victoria's Secret fashion show where I used to work.
I wonder if I was there because I didn't go to the fashion show, but my friend was staying in the fancy maritime hotel where the after party was. but I don't remember what year it was. And so
Ah,
I'm literally just trying to have a casual hangout with my friend who's in town on Google money, staying in a
right.
nice Google place. And I'm just hanging out with my friend, and then there's all these fucking models and like obnoxious stuff happening around, and there's no parking, and I'm like, what's going on? And then
Right.
on Snapchat, this is back in the Snapchat days, I
Yep.
realized
The Snapchat days. Like we got to go to archival history here. 20 plus years. Go ahead.
remember MySpace, right? Like it just kind of marks how we interact with our friends. Right now, I feel like I'm in a very Instagram period of my life, and
Yeah.
where I'm hanging out.
I love it. No, it's true. I want to frame my connection stages by the social media that I'm using. I never use Snapchat. I'm like so cat moon crotchety that like I can basically only do like two.
Hmm.
Yeah. But yeah, that's where I met her son, was at the Victoria's Secret fashion show. It was wild. That's it.
That's great. Okay, so Colin, you have a master's in fashion from Parsons.
I do, in fashion studies, not fashion design or fashion construction, but it's an MA in fashion studies, not an MFA in fashion design, but yes.
But what do you learn in an MA in fashion studies? Is this about aesthetic and style?
Aesthetic, style, history, culture, economy, the racism that's so prevalent in the American fashion industrial complex, politics. It was amazing. It was absolutely, academia is going through a very necessary review and renovation right now. Like, way to go, Pluto and Sagittarius generation. But I can honestly say that going to that school, even though it was an extraordinarily enormous privilege and financial burden, was the best decision I ever made in my whole life.
Ah, that's great.
Yeah, I loved it.
Especially, I mean, ironically, since like that's not really what you're doing.
Well, the irony, right? Because here's the thing, it was my very first class in the program where a Scorpio professor from the Netherlands, and you know how the Dutch are, they're very direct. They make New Yorkers look like I don't even know, like Southern Americans, because like they're very like indirect and blah, 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 right. No, the Dutch, this motherfucker was like, I always hear you forecasting Pisces moon this and Pisces moon that. You should just do an astrology magazine for fashion and call it a day. And I did. And then I met my accidental mentor and hero and one of my best friends, named Ophie Duke, one half of the Astro Twins. And then I started working as a professional astrologer, and he actually framed it insofar as fashion and astrology both forecast. So why couldn't you blend them? I know. And like, hands up, like that. This is why it was the best school I ever went to, because I was trained in a qualitative research methodology, and I was studying something that it has often been considered on the fringe, like, what high-minded academic studies fashion? Isn't that, very feminine and frivolous, right? And then so because I have the educational training to just then interrogate a bunch of different pop cultural themes and all of that, I've never really cared what anybody thinks about what I do or what I study, or whether it's too much or not enough, or who am I impressing and where did I get my certification. I don't care.
God, you're saving yourself so much time. Like you've just chopped a decade of work off of your life to just not care about that stuff. Like
I
that.
don't care. Right. Because first of all, it's like, let's get like, I'm not, trying to get puff up grandiosity. I was the commencement speaker. It's like, I'm not done. I know what I need to do. I know how much work I need to involve myself in. I clearly am not trying to impress or, make sure that I present myself in a high-minded academic way. I could take myself less seriously, but take certain conversations seriously. And I learned that all at Parsons School of Design.
Wow, that's brilliant. I love that. And
And
and I have to say, I just reflect because I double majored in poli sci. I started as an engineering major in college.
my God, Capricorn sun.
I did not want to go to that college. I thought if I applied as an engineer, I wouldn't get in, and I got in. I was like, my mom wanted me to go, but then when I visited after I got in, I had that God. I didn't even know, I was not spiritual at all, and I did not know what this was, but I know now.
Right.
It
Yeah.
caught my spirit. My spirit knew I was supposed to be there, and so I was like, oh, I like it here. I know I need to be here. So I went to Davis, and then changed my major to poli sci. And then I ended up, and that was just like kind of to get people off my back and tell people I was
Yeah.
there. but I really wanted to major in women and gender studies. So then when I declared that a double major, because UC Davis on the quarter system, you can be like a little hungry hippo for info because you've got 3 quarters every year to learn stuff. And
Ooh, that's cool.
right, so you can take a lot of classes. It's very easy to double major. And then I had a minor in film because I was really obsessed with cultural representations of gender, race, and all of our differences, like the way that perpetuates those systems, right? And women and gender studies taught me how to identify the systems and not allow them in, which I think helped to give me the platform to become a body liberation activist, which is really how I've spent my life. Right? Like, and it was so interesting, like how this one degree that I thought was just a throwaway degree, it wasn't going to matter, is the only degree that I really still use.
And right, and like one could say the same thing about like Colin. You don't work in the fashion industry, and you spent God only knows how much to make sure you completed that. Right, I know, and like I couldn't agree more. Like my Aries friend, she said beautifully. I don't know if everybody connects to this, but just before I started my first day, I was like, "Oh my God, this is such an expensive program. Oh my God, am I wasting all this money? What am I doing?" Right, and she goes, "Kyle," short for Colin. I don't think anybody wakes up and goes, "Gee, I really regret getting a higher education." And I was like, you know what? I don't think you're wrong. Right. And so I'm so glad I listened to her because, like, same with you. It took us to some path. It might not have landed us in the exact results or outcome, but I also don't feel like you and I have been people who were doing it so that we can wind up in the exact place that the degree takes us to. Like, no.
Was at
Oh,
that
right, because of law, right? There you go. Yeah.
possible because I was too afraid to admit that I didn't know what I was doing, and I was too afraid to dive into the abyss of the unknown. But law school got me to move across the country. It got me to meet. I fell in with the right group of people. I was like a law student nightlifing as a drag king. So like, right?
Virgo.
It was just, and it was a weird, very uncomfortable duality for many years where like my law and lawyer self was at odds with like my true artist, activist, healer self. And it was really uncomfortable. And I'm just like curious for you, like, how do you, so you dove into self-employment basically as an astrologer during your degree?
Oh, no. So what happened is, well, and also I just want to join with you on that tension that I think I'm sure we still feel to this day, and that many people listening still feel of like being a grounded seeker, but trying to look for things outside of us that are high-minded and esoteric and strange, right? So when I graduated Parsons, I did not receive gainful employment right away. So I actually started working as a waiter first on Fifth Avenue. And then I got hired by one of the people that I was waiting on, which was super cool, a Sagittarius boy. And he owned a materiality and textile company. So he took me on for a few months. And then unfortunately, the department that I was working at was moved abroad. And so he was like, "I'm so sorry, I have to let you go." So sorry, right? So that was my mother's birthday, which was a really interesting because I am an astrologer because she spoke about it in the house. So I was fired on her birthday. And then 2 weeks prior, though, that's when I started my astrology website. And I just thought it was going to be a hobby, Bevin. I just thought it was going to be like wouldn't it be nice if I just write about this? Okay. And then 2 weeks later, I was fired and all hell broke loose in the best way.
Uh,
Yeah.
isn't it amazing how like a crisis becomes an opportunity?
Well, when is it? Well, the original definition is exactly that, wasn't it? It's like a thinly veiled opportunity is crisis.
Yeah.
Yes, yes. And I think every crisis is. I mean, look at, we could even say COVID is such an example too. The Sonia Renee Taylor quote that I love is that normal never was. And so now we're given the opportunity to stitch a new garment.
Yes. Let's interrogate the idea of normal anyway. Like normal is just a way to conform us. Hanging as like a ransom, holding your belonging ransom in order for you to attain this idea of normalcy, right? And normal doesn't exist. If you look at humans, human diversity is just a mandate. We are all different. Like you're a twin. You like grow up knowing like same birthday, but totally different person, right? Like, and identical twins, I think, feel this too. Like it's a constant trying to figure out how to differentiate yourself from everybody else. But we're raised with this like
Oh my God.
hypnotism that you have to be normal in order to be accepted or worthy. And then it makes everyone at odds with that. And everyone's striving for this idea that's not them. And you have like a whole society of people who are outside of their true self. And that's a crisis.
Period. Full stop. Hold on. I need my listeners. My listeners, the listeners. I'm sorry. We need to have a moment. No, that's you. Normal holds your belonging ransom. Who do you think you are?
You just don't fighting it my whole life, and like finally
Wow.
just don't give a fuck that I'm not like anyone else. Like it's so funny because like the way I really kind of started tearing away from that belonging was finding different or tearing away from that idea of normal was finding belonging with like queer fat femme other queer fat femmes, and like recognizing that was me and recognizing that it was good and okay for me to be who I was. But then and I found so much peace and healing in that. But that identity period of my life was really a lot about a healing process of like healing those parts of me that needed to be nourished and acknowledged and honored. But then I kept adding more things to it. Like I got really into cannabis as a healing practice. I like got really into Jesus and spirituality and like astrology and all of these other things that have kind of expanded who I am. And as I get weirder and weirder and more different, even from the misfits who took me in, right? The more different I get, the more I realize this is just who I am, and everybody gets to have this.
No, and you know what you're making me thinking about? You're making me think about the full moon that we're about to have on Cancer on December 28th, and how Brene Brown says that the paradox of meaningful belonging is such where if you're normal and trying to assess and acclimate and people please and fit in, you don't belong to anyone because you don't belong to yourself, because you're abandoning yourself in order to have connection with others.
Yeah.
And so what you're saying is that the paradox of meaningful belonging requires you to release the straitjacket of normal and kind of let your freak flag fly. And from that place of I belong to myself, other people will want to belong with you. Because people can sense if you're totally not there yet, because you know we're all in our process. But I really love what you're saying is that belonging is a paradox and we have to wrestle with that.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. One of the most powerful quotes I heard from Myleik Teal, bless her, she's so amazing. She said, "You belong in every room you walk into." And I say it all the time now.
Yes. Yes. And you know what? I can workshop this with you because I believe that that theory needs to be applied to astrology in a lot of ways, because there's a sensibility with belonging in terms of planets belong to certain signs and signs belong to certain planets and whatever. And I'm so not about that, because then it predicates certain level of deficit-based assessment when a zodiac sign is being transited by a planet that it doesn't belong in. And it makes a lot of people feel like they're not good enough. Oh yeah. Yes. And I got into you want to talk about belonging and like don't be normal. I got into big trouble on the astrology Twitter sphere because I basically call that entire school of astrological thought, which is ancient and has been around for thousands of years, and there's a lot of celebrated successful astrologers in the field. I called the entire fucking community bullshit. And everyone was really mad. But you know what? I totally disagree with my approach. I wish I could have done it differently. But that initial question around, girl, what are we saying? What do you mean? You know where the planets belong? Do they talk to you? Like, come on. Do you know how crazy we already sound? We're talking about stars. And like, come on, like, what are we doing? And like, are you sure that that's true? So all this to say, I love that. I believe that we belong everywhere, every room we're in. And I believe that every zodiac sign is contingent upon belonging with every planet as well. So
You know what's interesting is like I think maybe the word comfortable can be applied. Like Saturn's very comfortable in Capricorn because we've got form and we've got like that mountain goat always looking for that.
yes.
And that's what you said about Saturn being form and Jupiter being faith, and faith and form like lining up. That's been I've been on a very spiritual journey. I mean, my whole life, but really in the last few years, and especially in the last year during quarantine, like and just really kind of understanding that struggle between I need a container, but I also need freedom. How do I like utilize and create a container so that I can feel as free as I know I want to?
Well, and then I would actually sort of say, is that a question or just an is? Because it's like, I don't know how to get to freedom, but through routine and container and structure.
Yeah.
And I think it's the idea of like, what if we don't see these as paradoxes that need to be solved, but just causation situations?
Maybe.
right? Because that's big Capricorn energy, right? Like you want to have freedom and you want to have that feeling. The Christmas clock just went off. You want to have freedom and you want to have, you know, a certain level. The clock, as we're talking about Capricorn, you see what I mean?
But
That's
Christmas. Wait. Tell me, what is a Christmas clock? Do you have like a clock that? Wait. What is?
okay. You're like, stop the music. Okay. Literally stop the music. Well, my mother has a Christmas clock. So when it goes off at like 1 o'clock, it sings a new Christmas song for like 5 seconds.
How did you get it? Who
I
lets
don't know. I'm gonna get it for you because clearly you need one and you should have it in your Ooh, excuse. Can I curse on here? Yeah, duh. Come on. You should have it in your space. But no, so it sends Christmas music off every hour. And what was crazy is that the Greek iteration of Saturn, which is a planet that rules Capricorn, was Cronus. Okay, so chronological. We were talking about Capricorn and the clock went off.
Wow.
I know. So that's like our Capricorn energy, like, hello, you two, right? Because you and I are both heavily influenced by the zodiac sign. But no, I think Capricorn energy recognizes and teaches, albeit uncomfortably, if you want freedom, you must learn how to anchor yourself.
Ugh. I feel like that's my work right now.
Okay.
Colin, you are an astrologer and you just finished your Saturn return.
I did. Oh God. Thank you.
Tell me what you learned.
Oh, Jesus. I learned that these principles work. You know, these principles of, do I want to walk with love or do I want to walk with fear? The notion of, this is my astrological nature and nature supports nature. And if I allow the nature to make manifest in my lived experience, I will be protected and challenged and supported, but more than likely protected. I also learned that the content of the work is not as important as the form, right? Back to the numbers game and the metric system, right? I don't look at the numbers in the form and that, like when you were saying, you know, you might have reached traction. I have no clue about that because I'm just focused on whether or not I'm, you know, playing the instrument. I don't know how it sounds, but I'm just like, how's my technique? You know, very Saturn. And then also I would say that, yeah, it really does come down to how Saturn as a planetary influence, I believe, wants each and every one of us to be as successful as we want to be as well. It does not want us to cut corners. It does not want it to be an overnight success. It doesn't want us to go viral because there's something to be said about somebody inhabiting success, which is essentially a spontaneous enlightenment experience, and not having the personality structure to hold that much energy at once. And so Saturn was like, all right, so let's work on your responsibility, your integrity, your discipline, your follow through, your commitment, your structure, because I want you to have the foundation to hold all the things that you want. But if that's not there, yeah, you might get it. And guess what? You'll self-sabotage, show your ass too quickly, and good luck recovering from that. So that's what I learned from Saturn is like, you know, I want you to be successful, but I'm not going to make you a TikTok viral sensation like Jupiter, right? I'm not going to make you easy come, easy go like the sun. I want you to have Capricorn stature like Michelle Obama, Muhammad Ali, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. I want you to be an icon, not an instant sensation. Yeah, Capricorn just came right through me. So you asked, right? Here we go. So that's what I learned. Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. Has there been like any sort of personal thing that you worked through that like you were like, oh my God, this is Saturn return? Like,
yes, I think it was in my fifth house of self-disclosure and creativity and all of that. So like, I don't necessarily believe in certain Saturn returns being like worse or better. But it was funny because my astrologer was like, yeah, yours is in the fifth house of joy. Like you just have to work to have fun. Okay. Right. Like you need to not be such a workhorse. Okay. But no, I would say that the primary lesson was around owning who I want to be, naming what I want, pursuing what I want, and really engaging, because I don't know of a more vulnerable act of self-disclosure than putting your horse in the race and saying, this is what I want. What do you think?
for sure.
Yeah,
It's
right.
so, dreaming is essential to the human spirit, and it is one of the most dangerous things you will do. Second to romantic love, I think, and maybe even parental love.
Okay, say more about that, Miss Capricorn, with your hands crossed.
deep in thought. Well, because I think like I was thinking about this the other day, you know, Mariah Carey, Heartbreak on with Jay-Z.
When are we dancing to that? Right now?
I think we should do, I want to have a talking podcast with you, but I think we could actually do a little dance Instagram thing.
Without a doubt.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Thinking about Mariah Carey's Heartbreaker, and I was like, everybody you date is a heartbreaker, because whether or not you end it, they end it, or they die, because like that's kind of what's going to happen, right? There's a heartbreak in that. And also like there's a million little heartbreaks too, especially if you are socialized in our society, you come with expectations. So a lot of, I think, what I realized heartbreak, the experience of heartbreak is, it's just broken expectations. And I think a big clarity I had about parenting over this quarantine is, because I still want to be a parent. I'm just going to be a later in life parent than most folks. But like parenting is really the highest work, I think, is to allow your kids to be your teacher, and to you teach them what you've learned so they can get on your shoulders. I say this because I don't think my mom listens to my podcast, but she said to me a couple months ago that she learned from my grandmother how to not be intimidated by everyone. And I was like, or by anyone, like she's not intimidated by anyone. My mom is a beast, Sagittarius moon, Leo rising, like she's all, but then she's a Cancer sun, so she's very sensitive.
Right.
But it comes off, her sensitivity comes off nasty to other people because of all that fire in the way.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
But when she told me that, I think it was just like within the last couple of years where I ceased being intimidated by anyone. And that was huge work I had to do on myself and with myself. And I'm like, I just felt so sad that my mom didn't teach me how to not be intimidated by people. I was like, she learned that from her mom, but she didn't make sure I learned that. And that was like interesting, because like as I approach parenting, I think parenting is about it's being the best parent for that kid. Specific. Dolly Parton talks about this a lot, like how her mom had 12 kids.
Another Capricorn. Go ahead.
Capricorn boss babe.
Right.
But like each kid got a different version of that mom, because she knew each child needed to be loved and honored very specifically. And Dolly Parton is such an unusual character, but having a mom who like was able to acknowledge and honor that weirdness and let her be weird and flourish gave her the wings to literally, I mean, she stood up at her high school graduation when everyone was saying what they were doing after they graduated. She was like, I'm moving to Nashville and I'm becoming a star. And that's exactly what she fucking did. Vulnerability.
Right. And you know what? Mom helping, which I love. That was so beautiful. And I'm going to go give my mom a hug after this, because now that you mentioned that, she did that for me too.
Yeah.
She really did. And like, I absolutely love that Capricorn energy of like, here's what I'm going to do. Right. And, you know, I think that's really vulnerable for a lot of folks. And I also think, like, to make this as sociocultural as possible, which you'll totally appreciate given your double major, is that for women and femmes, to own your desire meant death. You know, in classical literature, I'm thinking of Dracula as such an example. When a woman owned her passion and her desire, the author had to kill her to contain the woman's passion.
Yes.
Right. So that's the only way that it could have been contained, is if she was murdered.
Yeah.
For queer folks, and obviously this can be intersectionally applied as well, I believe that there hasn't been enough research or questions asked around how we locate danger and desire. Because the minute we started naming, oh, this is what I want, this is what I like, all these fundamental attributions started to happen, right? And so I think really the owning and the expression of desire for people who are not straight white cisgender males is extremely complicated. And I don't know of a greater access point to become the people we're capable of than to do the work to dismantle desire and danger, or desire and death.
You know, something that has really come through for me, and this is like part of my quarantine learning too, is just like the vulnerability gets easier when you take expectations out of the equation. Right? Like if you're just owning your truth, right? Like my truth is that my dream is to be a parent, right? Like my truth is that my dream is to find the love of my life and have an amazing, fun partnership that's like awesome, right? Like my dream is to have a big house and a private plane, right? Like those are things that are like really scary to name because if they don't come true, it feels like it's heartbreaking. But like if I take the expectation that has to come true in order for me to be happy, and I just take that out and just trust and love that vulnerable desire, knowing these things can change because my desires have changed over my life, right? It's interesting. I don't know, like it's like there's something to like how expectations are kind of like the toxic sauce that we put over things that breaks our own heart again and again.
Yes, and I don't know if this is an insight into what you're sharing, but it's making me think of, because of how beautifully you said it, that when it comes to desire, about expectation, yeah, I think that what I want to remember is where we set ourselves up for heartbreak is when we tell the universe, this is what I want and how you can serve me. I believe a different orientation is where you ask the universe, what do you want and how might I serve you?
Yeah.
And then the universe's desires for us are expressed through our life.
Mm.
And on my best, most brilliant day, which I don't have a ton, but on my best, most brilliant day, I still couldn't think about all the ways in which the universe can dream through me magnificently.
Mm.
So we could allow the same energy source that keeps planets revolving around the sun, acorns into oak trees, this cosmically ordered universe, dream through us. Or we can have expectations and tell the universe what to do, and then let me know how that works out for you. Right? But that's not to say we can't be specific and own certain things. Like, I really wanted this specific car and I got it, right? And I was really thrilled about that. And it was a dream come true. Like, I think there's a place for both. Don't get me wrong. But I think in our crowd, so much space is taken up by this is what I want to manifest. This is what I want the form to look like. Not enough of universe, what do you want and how might I serve you? Because this overemphasis of the self and the rugged individualist and all of that, it's just like, girl, it's so done. You know what I mean? So anyway, don't get me started.
Age of Aquarius now. We are
Hello.
good. I will say too, like I think there's a true beauty in allowing the universe to dream through us.
Yes.
But I do think it's like our like if I search into my deepest desires, I like feel like it comes through me because there's certain things I desire that I would not have picked. My ego self would not have picked that thing. You know what I mean? I also like I'll say like it would be an easier life if I didn't want kids, right? And I didn't even really want kids, want them like I do now until it was like when my ex and I started having trouble. That's when the switch turned and I was like, "Oh, I want to have kids like actually really do want to have kids, not just ambivalently maybe with this person." But like really want them. And it was like as soon as the fabric of that life was ripping away, it was like this desire like amplified. And I don't know, I think there's something to like being the observer of yourself and being willing to recognize when the clouds of your desires are shifting.
Yeah,
Something more true is coming through.
yes, and I also think that when we are confronted with loss and anticipation and longing, that sometimes can maximize the most high-minded desires that we have and the things that come from spirit and things that come from that source. And then I also think it lets us know really quickly what was coming from appetite and adrenaline the whole time.
Ooh, appetite and adrenaline.
Ooh, right. And we all got plenty of that, right? So that's why it's important to discern, right? Like where is this desire coming from? Is this coming from appetite and adrenaline? Or is this coming from a desire that is being dreamed through me through the central intelligence of the universe?
Yes. Okay, Colin, let's talk about your big dream that's kind of coming to fruition. You're moving to LA.
Yes.
Tell me how that seed started to sprout in you and you started to recognize that, and then how you took that leap.
Oof, yes, yes, yes. So thank you for asking. I definitely love the city of Los Angeles, even though, I'm a born and bred, but a New Yorker, so there's this instructive sort of expectation of like, don't even think about leaving ever, and here I am leaving. But no, I've gone to LA several times before, and it didn't feel like, oh, this is a place that I could live. And then back in 2018, I had to go to work with a friend in a project that she was doing. And I just started to notice that things would generate. And I just felt like as soon as I landed, I kid you not, Bevin, I was at the airport when a work opportunity was offered to me. I mean, it was just like, whoa, I haven't even got my bag yet. And there was a lot of those experiences of just right time, right place. Let's meet over here and let's build a community of folks. And so, and I just trust my feelings about it. I was like, wow, I really could learn to love it here. And that was beautiful to bear witness to. And I do believe that the West Coast tends to have a half a step ahead in matters of metaphysical, esoteric, and higher consciousness considerations. And I'm going to give it that credit. Absolutely, it does. Right. And so, if this is what I do, clearly that would be a wonderful place to do it. And then, astrologically speaking, the planet Jupiter, which rules faith, was in Capricorn, which is my moon sign. So Jupiter would thereby make three conjunctions, meaning aspect my moon sign exactly this year. And on the second conjunction, I was in Los Angeles. I was with a friend of mine who lived there as well, also from Long Island. And when I felt her as home in Los Angeles, all of a sudden this extraordinary emotion just kept coming over me. And I was like, I'm going to move here. And it literally was a whisper. And then I told her for the first time out loud, I started to get really emotional and cry because I could not believe these words were coming out of my mouth because I never saw it coming. And then when I came back to the East Coast, my mother said, "Yeah, I knew." And I told all the family, "Don't make you feel guilty or anything like that. We all had a feeling that's where you belong." She's a Cancer, so just totally plugged into some next level, and that's how it went. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to postpone my move there just because right now the city is in a huge just COVID.
LA when the ICU beds are 0% capacities.
Right, like that's probably not the best time, and so I'm gonna postpone a little bit. But I just made up January in my head. I don't have to do that. So I'll move hopefully when the vaccine rollout starts to emerge a little bit more prevalently, when they're not at a stay-at-home order, when I can go and see apartments not through virtual spaces only. But it really was an entire leap of faith, Bevin. There's no doubt about it. So anybody listening who sort of feels that call, I say just fucking do it. I mean, isn't that how all the great stories begin? And that's how the Shiro's journey starts. So yeah.
I think it's like one of my favorite things that Michael Bernard Beckwith says is that pain pushes until vision pulls.
Oh, say that again.
Pain pushes until vision pulls.
Ooh.
Because so many, I mean, I have a Saturn on the ascendant in Virgo.
Okay.
So 12th house on the ascendant, which I've been told that's a rough placement. And a rough placement, right? Are there any rough placements, right? But when Saturn rolls in and it's 12th house, that's endings, right? That's and on the ascendant can feel like everything falls apart in a moment. I'm starting to realize, just with the benefit of hindsight, honestly, this is just wisdom, but I'm just starting to realize when things fall apart, they're really coming together. So even as painful as the process of for me, it was releasing LA. I was in my ego self, I was surely I didn't just move to LA to be someone's housewife. But it was the divorce that made me leave. All the causation happened, but it was just releasing me to really be in this leap of faith, following my dreams, giving all of my heart and time to Fat Kid Dance Party so that I could make it a thing, and moving somewhere where I could have the support of my mom and her partner, and live somewhere where my rent is $400 a month, and I can just throw myself into doing the work that's on my heart.
Absolutely. And it required a tremendous leap of faith. And I think that's where we're all at right now. And I think the world is so hungry for faith. I think the world is so hungry for hope. And I think for folks like you and I and people who are watching who have faith even in chaos and who can be that miracle worker and stand for the alternative possibility, I think we need to really be the most articulate, critically thinking, communicative voices in every room that we find ourselves in.
Yes, absolutely.
Always a challenge, but that's what metaphysicality teaches us is, when we're thinking about Christianity, right? Jesus was suffering on the cross before he was resurrected. The Jews were lost in the pyramids, in the desert for 40 years before they found the promised land, right? Buddha was questioning about temptations before he reached enlightenment. So we're just at that moment of that transformational phase. And so we as metaphysicians have to say, this is the 11th hour, but it's not midnight yet. So what are we doing to have that faith experience? Because this is the way it works. So don't lose sight, keep your eyes on the ball, stay real focused, stay real mindful, and your resurrection, your deliverance, your enlightenment will be on the other side of this.
Ugh, I can't wait to push that fucking boulder aside and resurrect.
Right? Can I ask, like, what is it with effing Capricorns and Jesus? Like, Capricorns love talking about Jesus, and I'm like, I don't even believe he was born on December 25th. So, like, don't get it twisted. Like,
Either, actually. My birthday, I know I was born on December 24th. We do not know when Jesus was born. I kind of don't buy Jesus as a Capricorn. I really think is like, if we were to, Jesus is clearly a Leo rising, someone who is in the public eye but doesn't necessarily crave it, right? Like, who accepts it as like perhaps their work. I would say that perhaps even Jesus's Mars sign is in Leo because it's like very front and center, right? Like,
wait, no, like, do you understand that bewildered lesbians in the forest and Jesus was a Leo rising is gonna crack me up in my pillow tonight? I don't know why. That is so funny, but I'm gonna just be randomly laughing tonight about Jesus was a Leo rising. I don't know why that's so funny to me, but
it's a theory. I don't know, but like, and that's the cool thing about too, and if you think about it too, like, where's Virgo in Jesus's chart? Because Virgo is the servant, like that's servant leadership, and he's that servant heart.
Apparently his chart is on astrolab.com. So I don't know.
Did I call up Mary? Hey, Mary, do you remember what time he was born?
Wait, Mary, wait a minute. What time was Jesus born? Oh, hold on a minute. Yeah, hon. I know. I swear that needs to be a reel that I have to make tonight.
Thank you. I'm glad to inspire your art.
Oh my God. Yeah, Mary, listen, Jesus, when was that? When was he delivered? Like, who asked that? Oh, that is so funny. And Mary's chart is on astrolab.com. So I don't know how we found out her time of birth.
My grandmother tragically didn't even know her time of birth. She was like born on a farm, like fourth child, like
right.
When she was born. They were like, oh, another kid.
Well, how do we know Mary's? I don't know, but we're gonna run with it. It cracks me up. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, I love it. Okay, so Colin, I want to make sure before we end this, we tell people how to find you, how to track you. Are you like Santa on the North Pole? Can people go on the GPS and know where you are?
If only I had a tracker. Oh my gosh, it would just be moving all the time because I'm a Gemini sun. Yes, so you can find me at queercosmos.com, at queercosmos. And I have some mini readings that I'm about to open up when the new year begins again. And so I'd love to do those with folks. My one-on-ones, good, bad, problem, but they got booked out until June. And so.
Fantastic. Congratulations, my self-employed friend. What a relief. What a relief it must feel to be booked out until June.
It does. You know it feels like a relief, but then my Capricorn moon, Bevin, goes into overdrive and is like, you need to open up more slots. You need to be available to more people. What are you doing? I know. And I'm just
boundaries.
Yeah. And I think what I really need over the next 3 weeks is extraordinarily meaningful Saturn return integration period. Just rest. Yes. Yeah, you're like, you mean recharge? You can miss me with this fucking language? You just need to rest, bitch. Wait.
It was for me. I've been honest, ever since the November 15th eclipse, I've gotten this strong urge to rest. And it's like the constant urging of the universe. And I'm like, you know what? I don't want to get sick. So I'm just gonna listen.
Yeah. I'm gonna do this thing called listen for once in my life. Okay. Right. Wait, Bevin, I have a question for you. I don't want to like keep you, but because your birthday's tomorrow, I would really love for you to share, what do you wish the astrological community got right about Capricorn? What do you wish that more people understood about this extraordinarily powerful archetype?
You know what? I'm going to turn this right back to you and just say, you taught me something about Capricorn yesterday that like blew my mind open, which is just that Capricorn is emotional mastery. It's not about denying your emotions, which is a very strong Capricorn trap. A lot of Capricorns are boring and terrible because they deny their emotions. I
You know,
find it interesting and fascinating and wonderful Capricorn because of the mix and blend of my birth chart. Like, and I'm sure like Dolly Parton also has a blended birth chart, even though we don't know when she was born because she was, you know, also born without clocks or whatever. Before they kept track of that stuff, right? Like, we'll never really know Dolly's rising. How sad is that?
horrible, but we know Jesus is. Tell me how that makes sense.
Exactly. But we get to make up Jesus's. I'm gonna actually reach out to one of my mediums and see if we can figure this out. Why not?
Bevin, I will fall over my chair and crack the fuck up if you find out Jesus's time of birth. Okay.
But I will also say I'm so grateful to have been raised adjacent to this magnificent woman, Anise Irwin Kinnery, who was my grandmother, and she was a Capricorn. And we are from a long line of Capricorn women.
Wow.
I mean, a lot of people who believe that criticism was love. I learned that.
Oh yeah, you mean it isn't? Oh, I got some fucking talking to do when I go downstairs and talk to my family now. Go ahead.
Exactly, because the Capricorn wants things to be great and they want things to be their best. And the problem with the mountain goat is you're constantly climbing up, right? So you're looking at the mountain ahead. The true like thing that Capricorns need to know, and this is me just talking to other Capricorns, is to turn around and look at how far you've come. Just have those rest and integration moments where you're just chilling and recognizing and acknowledging all the work it took to get where you are, knowing there's always another fucking mountain to climb.
For the view, baby.
There were so many points in my life where I realized, oh my God, I have another mountain to climb in the area of self-love.
I know.
I used to think it was like, oh, I love my body. Now that's done. But then I realized my thought life was toxic and abusive. And that wasn't how I deserved to live. And so.
That's right. And there goes Bevin climbing the fucking self-talk mountain. You know what? Leave it to a Virgo. Her name is Holly Murchison. She has this extraordinary forum called Tell Me About Yourself. She's a native New Yorker. Love her. Pisces Moon Virgo rising. Love her, love her, love her. She told me that the language, the word for how we talk to ourselves is intrapersonal. I never knew that.
Oh, I like that.
Like we're having an interpersonal dialogue. If you or I were talking to ourselves, it would be intrapersonal.
Yes.
Right? We love that Virgo semanticsness. But no, truly, Capricorn energy, as I understand it, is really just a sign of emotional management. And there is absolutely nothing wrong with, I think, Capricorn energy delivering the realization to folks is you know that you have the space between the stressor and behavior. And what are you doing to make sure that you are maximizing the upsides of emotional pleasantness and doing everything that you can to regulate emotional discomfort responsibly?
Ooh, regulate emotional discomfort responsibly. What a Capricorn theme.
I know. And like, I want to throw up because I swear to God, like that energy just flows out of me. Like it's too much. It's way too much. But that, and most of my life, Bevin, like that was I was approaching that very harshly and Capricorn, get the fuck over it, you know? And now I'm just kind of like, okay, I am feeling this with you. And what are we going to do about it in the space of what's happening? And how are we making sure that we're not emotionally self-indulgent and emotionally responsible and have emotional sobriety and emotional impulse control?
Oh, yes. I'm reading the book I'm reading right now. It's called Pleasure Activism.
By Adrienne Marie Brown. Hello. Iconic. Go ahead.
Have you read it yet?
I'm on chapter 3 because she just delivers a little too much for me. I have to like take a minute. And I love that she's interviewing other people. Like it feels like a conversation with her and her fucking best friends.
And also she has this command that before you enter reading it, that you masturbate. So I'm like, oh, I can't read it because I'm not gonna, like, I'm about to do the dishes. I'm like, I'm not gonna go masturbate, so I'm not gonna listen to this book right now.
Right. No, I can't. And like, I kind of want to be like Adrian, girl. Like, after I do that, I go right to bed. So like, can I maybe have a cookie? Can I have pleasure in a different way? But she's a Scorpio moon as well.
Oh,
Moon twins.
What a genius. Also, so is Beyonce.
Yes, yes, you, Adrienne Marie Brown, you know, the astrologer that I mentioned, Ophie Dude, she's a Capricorn rising too. She's a Scorpio moon. And I always tell people that like she's really the first one to show up at a birthday party for me. And then incidentally, she actually had to plan a funeral for one of my best friends who passed away. And that's Scorpio moon loyalty. It's like, I'm here with you through it all.
Was it the woman who inspired the pleasure activism book?
The friend who passed away?
Friend who passed away is not Adrienne Marie Brown's friend.
No.
Sorry,
No, but that's funny. Yeah, connections. No. Yeah, no, I was like, wait a minute, are they the same person? No, but she's a Scorpio moon too, and she is literally with me through it all. Like, I'm so blessed to have her friendship. So blessed to have her.
A Scorpio moon will love you truly to the moon and back, to the depths of who you are, good or bad, shadow or light.
Right. And they're just sitting with it and like, well, okay, we're going to sit in this discomfort and everything's going to be okay when we want it to be. I know. I love my Scorpio. You and I have complicated moon signs. That's why, like, we're like sticking together, because ours are in detriment or in fall or whatever they fucking say it is. I don't know. But
Colin, I adore you. Will you come on the podcast again?
That's abso-fucking-lutely. Are you kidding? Done and done. And I'm thinking you need to go on my Instagram live and we need to do a dance party to Heartbreaker.
Yes, let's do it. Let's do it. My God. Okay. I'm going to close out the podcast. Yes. Bye, everybody.
Bye.